What's up, guys? It's Jake here. Just letting you know that the video you're going to see in a minute, the video portion got kind of messed up in editing, so it's not going to be a video. It's going to be podcast style, so it's still pretty good. It's a good listen, I think. So just letting you know. Enjoy. What's up, everybody? We're going to do Offspring Americana today. I'm not prepared for this shit. This one came out in, 98?
Yeah, this one, I want to say it was right toward the end of 1998.
This came out on November 17th, 1998. So almost 99.
Yeah,
right
almost.
at the fucking ass end of the 90s. Oh, yeah. And it was recorded. Damn, it actually only took him 3 months. Now that I think about it, it's kind of a long time. It took him 3 months. It says recorded July through September, and then it was released in November. On Columbia Records, and it was produced by Dave Jordan. Singles off of this album were Pretty Fly for a White Guy, Why Don't You Get a Job, Kids Aren't Alright. I'm honestly pretty sick of all of those. I like Kids Aren't Alright, but the other two are kind of annoying to me now. But I mean, we listened to this song a lot when we were kids. It starts with an intro, real short, 10-second welcome. Now he's, just kind of funny. I remember they did that a lot in their albums, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. They would always put little snippets or spoken stuff like this, and it was always just to be kind of goofy, just to leave it in the next songs.
Yeah, and this was Have You Ever? This was always, when I was younger, one of my favorite songs, if not my favorite song off this album. This is a good one.
And there it is, Dexter Holland with his real high register vocals. It's so cool.
It's not even that high, but he has such a distinct voice, but it's also technically not a good voice,
Right.
because he's just forcing it out, and it's just, I don't know. It's not technically a good voice, but it's iconic because it's him. And Offspring were pretty iconic back in the day and pretty popular, I guess.
Right. And it's one of those things too where I don't think any other singer at the time would have sounded good in this band. I mean, I don't know, just Dexter Holland and Offspring, they just go together too good.
Yeah, it would be interesting to hear him sing with somebody else. I wonder if he did anything with MXPX or NoFX or something like that.
Yeah,
it'd be kind of interesting.
That would have been interesting. And you know what? I'll tell you what. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I mean, this is really the only punk band that I really ever listened to in the day. Not a whole lot of them sang this high, this well, I would say.
But this album, especially, just listening to it, those drum beats and some of their guitar riffs, they're a little bit kind of fringing on the metal side of punk.
I would say so, and I think that's probably why I kind of got into these guys back then. This was literally the first punk band I ever listened to.
Yeah, a lot of their drum beats and stuff they're kind of fringing on thrash.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. And I always love this, how the instruments just kind of drop out.
Yeah. And it slows way down in tempo. I don't know if it does quite go to halftime, but it does. It just drops way low in tempo.
They did that a lot on this album. I listened to it yesterday, and I just kind of give it a quick once over. And they did that a lot where towards the end it just slowed down. And
yeah. And a couple of examples, too. They speed way up, too.
Yep.
And same thing. It's weird, too, because it's they don't quite go halftime, and they also don't quite go double time either in either of the cases. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, I always love the outro in this song. That bass line is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Turn this up a little bit. Yeah, it's such a sick bass line. And then that pick's great.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was reading in preparation for this. I was reading a little bit about them. A lot of the critics, that is so cool.
I love when it comes in.
A lot of the critics were sitting here talking about how they were so juvenile, and how
they were before this.
I would say,
and then
before
this. I think this was probably their most mature sounding album.
And that's what I was saying.
Their whole career, they don't really, other than Why Don't You Get a Job and maybe Pretty Fly for a White Guy. They didn't really have any, because they had a lot of those almost comedic kind of joke kind of sounding songs.
Yeah.
This had almost none. Like I said, there were maybe two.
Yeah.
And then they had that intro, and then this one doesn't have an interlude, does it?
I don't think so, but they kind of sort of do something at the end of the album, after Man. So
yeah. This was just a much. I mean, Ixnay was pretty. punky, I guess, but it was also very dark at the same time. This whole album's just pretty dark.
Yeah, it is overall. Like it's got like a real serious kind of tone to it.
Mm-hmm.
But they did. When I was reading about it, they were really kind of going for that sort of disgruntledness in America at the time.
Yeah.
Like Dexter even said in there, he really wanted to kind of paint the picture of how bad 1998 America was. And,
yeah, it's funny though, because 1998 America, when you look back, things were probably so much better in the late 90s than they are now.
I would agree. I mean, but I can kind of see in his perspective because, you know, for a person that age at the time, they might have seen it that way.
And they were pretty old when this came out. Not old, but because they started in like the late 80s or mid 80s.
Yeah, because Dexter, he must have...
I think he was in his 30s when this came out.
Yeah, I think they were all in their... They had been early 30s at the time, I would imagine. But yeah, they were getting a little older, but at the same time, I mean, that's usually like right in the peak prime of singing and instrumental ability.
Yeah, this was a great album. I always liked it. I've never really been that big of an Offspring fan, but this album, and I always liked Ixnay a little bit better.
Yeah,
but I probably listen to this one more.
Yeah, but it's so weird because also reading about this band. They were one of those where they always wanted to make each album sound different from the last, you know, and you can really hear it. But at the same time, I mean, it's that Offspring sound. Like there's a few little small examples of you can hear just what makes Offspring in this album. And this one, though, I think that's where it all came together for them. Yeah. And afterwards, you know, they kind of tried some stuff, but I don't know. I think it all just came together on this one.
They have a lot of like thrash influence in their music.
I think so.
Like there's just a lot of those really fast picking and those drums. They're just straight up thrash metal beats.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, they were on the same time like Bad Religion, Rancid, Pennywise.
Oh, that's right.
Blink-182. So Pennywise, they didn't really sing very high either. Bad Religion didn't either. They were all pretty much, you know, a comfortable speaking kind of level and tone and all that. Man, they've been around for 39 years. That's crazy.
So yeah, about as long as I have.
So when they first started, they started off being called Manic Subsidal, and they started in 1984.
Oh, damn.
And then that only lasted for 2 years, and then they changed their name to Offspring.
Wow.
After that.
I didn't... I must have missed that part, but man, I didn't realize they've been around that long. Since like
longer than you.
Yeah, like, you know, since the mid-'80s. That's crazy.
The Offspring has cited various punk bands as influences, included the Dickies, Sex Pistols, the Misfits. I can't think of who TSOL is. I think they're just the shit out of luck.
Okay.
Agent Orange, Adolescents, Ramones, The Clash, Dead Kennedys, Bad Religion, The Circle Jerks, Descendants, GBH, Suicidal Tendencies, and The Vandals. Other influences are Creedence, Clearwater Revival, Kiss, Led Zeppelin, and new wave acts like the B-52s, The Cars, Devo.
Okay, yeah, some
like
of that
but I don't understand though, because like, okay, some of those guitar, like, they're pretty punk because they're really fast, but like a lot of the drum beats and everything, and it's just very reminiscent of thrash metal.
Right, it's like I hear a lot of thrash in there, but see toward the end, like some of the bands you were listening toward the end, I was like, while you were reading them, I'm like, really, the B-52s and stuff, but
you can kind of hear it.
You can kind of sort of hear it, and it's.
I mean, and an influence. It doesn't necessarily mean that it comes through in your music either.
Right. I don't know. Like the weird thing about this song and "Why Don't You Get a Job" in particular, though, you were kind of right. Like earlier, you were saying you got so sick of it.
Yeah.
It was on our local pop station constantly when this album came out.
These guys were on like all the fucking radio stations back then.
But it was really interesting too, like years later, because you know when you're 13, 14 years old listening to this, you're just like, oh, you know, it's
funny,
fun to listen
it's
to.
really catchy.
But when you get older and you kind of look at the lyrics and stuff, you're like, wow, like because this guy, he's singing, he's kind of making fun of this guy for trying to pretend to be, you know, like
trying to fit in. He's trying he's trying too hard. That's what this whole song's about. A guy trying way too hard to fit in with a certain group.
Right, and then the fact that he's actually taken more flack for doing that than to just be genuine on his own.
Yeah, and I think maybe started like a whole movement of the whole be yourself kind of thing. And a lot of people our age and our era and generation, that's kind of how it is. A lot of people, I mean, there's still a lot of people that try way too hard to please others and be like everybody else, but For the most part, I mean, a lot of people in our era and generation, they do their own thing. They're their own person, and
individuality was a big deal.
yeah.
I mean,
I don't feel like a lot of people our age are trying that hard to impress people, especially now. Like, we're older, but
yeah,
I don't know. Everybody tries to impress people when they're kids, you know?
right. Well, because I mean, then I'm sure it's no different now, but I mean, it's like you can't just, you know, be a social pariah and just, you know, ignore everybody and everything. You have to kind of, you know, to a point, you know, you have to be in with a clique and all that kind of thing. And, but for the most part, though, yeah, back then, individuality and difference was a big thing, and we all embraced it, so it was kind of cool.
Yeah, this was a good one. I always liked this song.
Real
This was a
tempo.
more just straightforward, just rock song.
Yeah.
I always liked this song. It was on The Faculty. That was a
I remember that.
cheesy movie, but it was so good. Fucking Elijah Wood and what's her name? She was in Fast and the Furious. Jordana Brewster was in it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
She was the tall, skinny brunette chick. And then what's his name from that '70s show had that cameo in it.
Oh, yeah.
That came
was
out
his
before
name?
that '70s show, though, didn't it?
Yeah, that was quite a while. Or no, it was,
Maybe it was
right
right-
around
right
the same
after it
time it
started,
started. Yeah.
Yeah. What the hell's his name?
Danny Masterson.
Danny Masterson. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's in jail now, so sure.
Is he? I thought he got out.
Oh, did he
Maybe
get
not.
out?
I don't know. This was a good time for just, I don't know, music and TV and everything that came out. Like, it was, like, I feel like this was, like, the last original decade.
I think
like,
so.
everything after, I'd say, like, maybe 2005 was just so, like, reheated bullshit.
Right. Well, and it was really cool because this particular summer, well, I mean, I bought this album the summer after it came out, and it was really interesting because it was like the last gasp of the 90s, you know, was that summer. So 99, it was just awesome. I mean, because I don't know if you remember this, but it was like 96 through 98, it was just kind of like blah, you know, it was just, you know, you get through it. Like, not a whole lot happened.
96. I was 8 in 1999.
Okay.
I remember the end of the 90s, but I don't remember most of the early to mid 90s. I was born in 91.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, my memory before 1996 is very hazy.
Okay. Well, I would say that, you know, 96 through like early 99, it was just kind of like nothing really happened. It was kind of boring, not a whole lot. But then second half of 1999, yeah, like some stuff started happening, like
Well, yeah, the whole fucking Y2K thing.
Y2K, and then we had Columbine not too far before that. Like, there was just a lot of stuff going on, and I think that's kind of go back to the point of this album. I think that's kind of the outcry they were having about it, was just out of nowhere all this stuff is happening.
Yeah. This song specifically gives me huge thrash metal vibes. I started learning it already today. It's really easy, but it's just fast and thrashy, and it's minor.
Yeah, and you can really hear the speed.
If
like,
you
it's
take
insane.
Dexter's vocals out of it, this is a straight up thrash metal song.
Oh yeah,
it's fucking awesome. And I always remember, like, because back then when you're a kid, you're not really listening to the music that much.
No.
The vocals and the lyrics, I always thought the lyrics were kind of weak because it's just, I don't know.
Right.
But I was listening to it yesterday, and it's like, as cheesy as the lyrics are, like, me personally, I can kind of relate with them.
right.
You know, 'cause it's all about just, I don't know, letting out all that hate.
Right. Well, you know, it's a cover too.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a parody cover.
No way. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah, I can't remember who did it originally because and it's a lot much slower in the original. But yeah, it's I was reading about it. It's a parody cover.
I gotta look this up or find this now. Okay, yeah, it's a Morris Albert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what was kind of cool
I've
about
never
it
heard
too.
of it. That's cool. I didn't know this was a cover.
Yeah, that's what's kind of cool about it though, is because they took it, because I've heard the original song and it's just one of those, you know, lounge singy type songs, and to hear them do it this way, I thought that was really creative.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to listen to the original one because this is a song that I decided I'm gonna cover.
Yeah. Well, you've seen Shrek. It's at the very end when that.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah, like that's the, the original song.
Well, I want to listen to it because he only says the one word.
Right.
But yeah, I'm gonna have to listen to that, kind of get a different perspective. Because I was thinking of turning this into like a modern thrash metal song, like with screaming vocals and stuff.
Which I think that'd be interesting to do a parody.
And I was gonna either drop it down to drop C or with the 7-string. I don't know. I haven't decided yet.
I think that'd be interesting. Do a cover of a parody cover
Yeah.
of a of a song. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, and then it slows down here, and their bassist too. He was pretty. He's kind of buried in there, but he did some pretty good bass lines.
Yeah, he did.
A lot of the time, he just kind of followed the rhythm guitar, but he has some little
Yeah,
like little
I always
these solos
like that.
too. Noodles was a pretty good guitarist too.
Oh, Noodles was the shit. But yeah, I like that with the bass guitar, like when they kind of help with the movement of the bottom end instead of just sitting there. Because he does. I mean, like you said, oh yeah, I love this
She's
song.
got issues, yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, like you said, in punk music, you just do a voiceover. You just kind of copy what the rhythm guitar is doing.
Yeah.
But in punk music, when they do some bass line movement, I do like that because
There's a lot of good punk bassists out there. This guy was pretty good. He wasn't the best.
No.
But Mike Dirnt was probably one of the best punk bassists out there.
he was really good. Mark Hoppus was
Mark
really
Hoppus
good.
was good. But I guess, because I was going to say, I think he just followed the rhythm. But they only had the one guitar, so like I think he kind of took a little bit of lead sometimes.
Sometimes. Yeah, this song, I remember when I first heard this way back then, it was one of those where it's like, you don't really want to like it, but you can't help it. You know, it's such a cool song. It's I would say this is probably the closest to classic rock that they ever got in their entire catalog.
Yeah. This sounds a little bit more like their older stuff. Like this could have came out like on
Smash or
Smash,
something like that.
like the one with like Self-Esteem.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of that. Just a little bit more major. I don't know, like this. I feel like this was a song that they kind of based the rest of their career on.
I think so.
Because I mean, this sounds a lot like "You're Gonna Go Far, Kid."
Yeah,
stuff
it
like
does
that.
remind me of that.
Yeah. And like, what's that one song? Oh my God, it's gonna bug me.
And I do kind of like the fact too that they're not afraid on such a serious album like this. They're not afraid to put something like this on here, just a goofy song where he's complaining about his like it's about his friend complaining about how messed up his girlfriend is and stuff. I just think it's interesting because later on you're going to see there's some serious subject matter on here, and yet you get a song like this too. You know, we just got done saying a bit ago about how they wanted each album to sound different. I think this album and Conspiracy were the two that sound the most similar to one another.
Yeah, they had a pretty interesting sound their whole career because like they were really raw and gritty when they first started, and then they kind of refined it a little bit up till this album, because I would say even Ixnay was a little bit more raw sounding than this.
I think so.
And this came out just a year before this.
Yeah.
And after this they got a lot more refined, and then I don't know, I felt like after Conspiracy they got a little bit weak.
Yeah.
And then I just stopped caring, honestly, because like their hits were pretty good, and then the rest of the album kind of sucked, and that was
Well,
not
by then
sucked,
too,
but
they
know
were
what I mean.
Late 30s, early 40s,
Yeah.
so they're starting to get a little bit more familiar and formulaic at that time.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just always kind of liked them in a way. I mean, I know I just said that I kind of fell off or whatever, but like this album I've always liked. Ixnay I've always liked, and then all their other stuff is just kind of hit and miss for me.
Right.
Walla Walla. This was a fun song back in the day.
It's a fun song, but at the same time, I'm like,
It's just a guy going to jail, right?
Right.
That's all it's about. Going to prison for stealing shit.
right. A lot of real big gang vocals in this album too. Like you can really tell that they were trying to go for that whole when they're playing live in the stage and everything like that. Everybody's supposed to like be pumping their fists and screaming.
Though this, we were talking about like the high pitched vocals and stuff. This song reminds me of more of like ska that came out around this time.
Yeah.
It's just without the trumpets and horns and stuff. So like,
like real
so
big
as far as
fish.
high vocals goes, like Less Than Jake.
Yeah.
Kind of. They had, I think, even higher vocals.
Oh yeah, they sure did.
Goldfinger. I really like Goldfinger a lot.
And it was really interesting too because I'm glad you mentioned ska, because that was always kind of the idea. I always thought the opposite. Like when I would first listen to ska, I thought ska was basically exactly like Offspring. So I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I heard the horns and stuff, and I'm like, all right.
Yeah,
that's
well,
interesting.
I mean, they took the idea of punk rock and mixed it with surf rock and mixed it with horns.
Okay.
And then there you get ska.
Yeah.
Well, skate punk.
Okay.
I think it's just short for skate punk. But Yeah, I like some ska. I don't like all of it, but
No, but
I really like Goldfinger. Less Than Jake's pretty good. I saw them at Warp Tour when me and Ashley went. They were pretty good, but his voice is just so whiny.
yeah.
But they put on a good show. I've seen Offspring. I saw them with Bergman back in that must have been like 2013, 2012. They played
Okay.
it was like the day before Waterfront
Okay, yeah.
downtown in Davis Park. Give away where we live. Figure out what town we live in. They were pretty good live too. I wish I could remember who opened for them. Like I remember it was some girl punk band, and they were really good. I can't remember what they were called though. They were cool though. And it was just those two. They were good live. They put on a good show for how old they were.
And yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the artwork and the album cover on this.
I always liked it.
Yeah. With this group, I did read a little bit more in depth about the guy. His name was Frank Kozik. He's so weird.
He's popular with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just so weird though, because like his regular art that he always does, it's not too dissimilar from what you see on this album cover, or if you have an older copy of this.
This was always one of my favorites. End of the line.
Oh yeah, this good song. But like if you flip through the booklet itself, each song has its own accompanying illustration. And what's really cool about it is just it's got like that 50s America kind of feel, but he distorts the hell out of it with, like, for example, he's holding a sand flea on the album cover,
and there's just weird tentacle, and there's always just these weird little imagery, and but I thought that was kind of the cool thing. It's like Tainted America,
and
that was the whole idea for this whole album.
But yeah, I mean, this guy, he was just really creative artist, and he came up with some really interesting ideas of how to put together an album's worth of art based on I think it was Dexter was working with them, and he just told him, I just want pictures of like classic America with like really gross, disgusting stuff on there. Yeah,
because I remember there was one, I think it was for Pretty Fly for a White Guy, where it's the kid with like the box, and it was kind of like the dancing monkey thing, but he was attached to the box or something like that, and it was basically I will dance for attention.
Right. And my favorite one on this entire album actually is the one on Americana, where it's kids blindfolded, he's playing football right in front of an American flag.
That's right, yeah.
And to me, that's just the image that really resonates, because at that time, keep in mind I was a late preteen.
If I can find them, maybe I'll put the pictures up if I can find them.
Yeah.
Put them, because I always really liked the artwork, especially in this album.
Right.
They were really good, and like you said, every song had its own picture.
And I think too, I mean, for especially somebody who was around my age at the time, late preteens, early teens, this album did resonate because, that was their target audience. They really wanted kids around that age to listen to this, and they kind of spoke to us about it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like we said earlier, I really didn't feel that way about 1998, 1999. To me, it was the best time of my life up until probably, what was it, like 08, 07?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, like I said, I remember about half of the 90s.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to sit here and claim that the 90s, I think the 90s were the greatest decade. They could have been. I don't know. Like I said, I don't remember most of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess it depends on your perspective. I mean, to me, I'm always going to hold the 90s to high regard.
It's the same reason why, same thing with the early 2000s for me, because I was a teenager.
Right. And it's all about the time period in which you're living. Like, however old you are in that time, that's how you're going to view it, because, I think everybody really appreciates the time when they're, like, late adolescence, the 10, 11, 12 years old. I think they're really going to appreciate that time the most.
What's the next one? No Breaks?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This song was a lot more like Ixnay.
Yes.
A lot more of that just kind of hardcore punk.
Yeah, real high speed, kind of a raw and aggressive.
Yeah.
But see, that's the thing, they verge on the edge of going out of control, but they never quite get there. Like, it stays very, very tight.
And I was just kind of messing around. I can scream. I don't a lot, but I was just messing around in the car listening to this yesterday, just screaming all of it. It sounds...
Oh, that's cool.
Man, and I was just like, I know I can scream well. It's just for some reason I can't record it well.
Right.
And I'm just listening and thinking like, oh, like that, like
Yeah.
the whole verse would sound good screamed, and then the chorus, just leave it.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, that would sound awesome. Like you can easily turn this stuff into just a fucking sick thrash song.
Oh, yeah, you could.
Like almost every song on this album.
Right. That's the other thing too I wanted to mention was every song on this album, except for like a couple, maybe like Pay the Man and maybe a couple others, you do not realize they're that short. Like, because you look at this and it's like 2:04, and it's like, man, it
but that's
doesn't
another
feel
thing.
that short.
That's another thing with like thrash metal and like punk bands, and they just had really short songs. But that was the point: short, straight to the point, and that's it. There's not a whole lot of filler.
No,
it's just all just really high energy, aggressive music.
Right, and they really fit the message, and actually fit quite a bit in that short amount of time. So it's like, but it does. It feels like it's a lot longer than what it is.
Yeah,
but. I don't know.
I like they did a lot of key changes in this song too.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, as short as it is, they changed. I think the key change is like the verse. Every chorus is a different key.
Yeah.
And then doesn't it go up at the end, or is that another song I'm thinking of? I thought it went up a key.
I know they do it a few times on this album. But yeah, this song, no, it's almost over, so I don't think they do here.
No, I'm thinking of a different song.
Yeah.
Right at the end, he goes up.
Yeah.
It's a short album too. Now I'm thinking about it, because we're almost done with it already. It's, what, 11th song?
Yeah.
And there's 13, but Pay the Man's a long fucking song.
Yeah, it is.
If you don't count the outro, but oh no, because they separated it on here. So yeah, Pay the Man's like 8 minutes long, isn't it?
Yeah, it's real long. Now here's the song that, if you know this album, this is probably the song you know off this album.
Yeah, it's either this one or Pretty Fly. Well, like I said, it's this song, Pretty Fly for a White Guy, and Kids Aren't Alright.
Right.
But this was the one that they played constantly on the pop station.
Oh, yeah.
Why Don't You Get a Job? And it's funny. And Trenton, that kid cracks me up. With me, him, and his brother, and his dad too. But we all used to work together, and this song came on the radio one time, and Trenton sang this song to me, and he said, what did he say? He says, Jake has a pretty good job. Like, that's just kind of a running joke for the rest of the time that we all work together.
Well, this song, I think, was probably, maybe up until a little more recent with this band, definitely their biggest attempt at pop. I mean, and you can really hear it. It's got a heavy Latin influence to it. It's, I don't know. I really like the steel drums in it.
It's got
it's really
that,
cool.
like the sleigh bells and shit in the back too, or probably a tambourine, but yeah, it's kind of cool. They did stuff like this on, Ixnay on what's that one song? Don't Pick It Up.
Yeah, actually that's one of my more favorite songs on that album, because it's so goofy. Like, I really like it.
Those songs always kind of drew my attention. Like this one I really liked when it was new, and then I listened to it way too much.
Yeah,
but this song's really ska-like. It's got the horns and stuff in the background.
Oh yeah,
and it's that same kind of, what is it? It's probably, is that a swing 4? Or is it just straight 4/4?
It feels like straight, but I mean, because of the instrumentation, I think it has that kind of swing feel to it.
This is just like the fucking epitome of a ska song.
Yeah.
It's got like the horns in the background and the little shakers and all the weird percussion and clean guitars. And I remember this was one of the first songs that I listened to that had like swear words in it.
Yeah.
That, like, I felt like edgy listening to it and singing along with it.
This whole album too. I mean, they were not afraid to just go for it and just put some profanity on there, because this was not long after that whole PRMCC or whatever they called it.
Yeah,
this is not long after that whole shit.
Oh, dude,
here's the song.
This song's the shit. His guitar tone in this song in the beginning, it's just so brutal sounding.
Yeah,
not brutal, but it's fucking. He's just fucking smacking the shit out of the strings. It sounds so cool. I don't know what kind of guitars they use. Noodles uses an Ibanez. It's like a weird Telecaster looking Ibanez.
Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty cool.
And then, Mesa Boogie with a tube screamer.
That's pretty basic. I mean, that's about as basic as it gets, but at the same time, it's so effective.
Yeah, it's a Mark IV.
Damn.
It's a Mesa Mark IV with a boosted with a tube screamer. And he uses his Ibanez NDM3, which I'm guessing it's his signature model, but I don't think I've ever seen an Ibanez like that, so he probably developed it with them.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, he's got a bunch. He's using Fractal now. He's used crank back in the day. He's Fender Strats, Telecasters, DiMarzio pickups, Ibanez Art Core, Ignator cabs.
Okay.
He's using all kinds of stuff, but I'm not seeing exactly what he used on this album. But I'm sure it sounds like a Mesa.
It does.
Yeah, and then I don't know what Dexter used, but I could have swore Dexter was using like Les Pauls, or maybe it was an LTD or something. When I saw him live, it was the Les Paul shape, I'm pretty sure.
Right. You know what's really funny about this song too is just the lyrical content. I think it's more true now than it was at the time this came out. Like when you just like this part right here when he's talking about don't blame me, I just work here and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of the attitude kids have now.
Oh, he's using Ibanez too.
Really?
Yep. RG570.
Wow.
And then he had that Art Core, that single cut. That's what kind of what he was using when I saw him, probably. Fender Strats, VHT Pitbulls. He's also using Fractal. Yeah, he's an Ibanez. He's used Mustangs back in the day. I guess they both use. Yeah, he's an SG Junior.
Okay.
Some acoustics. Sure, SM57s.
Okay.
For mics. And that's just for vocals, but yeah, that's kind of cool.
And then here's the magnum opus of the entire album.
Pay the Man. They did this back then because Ixnay had songs like this towards the end.
Yeah. This was always so weird. Like I remember when I'm ashamed to admit this, but when I first bought this album, I would never listen to this song just because I was like, man, it's too long. And then it's ironic because years later, I really got into Dream Theater and their stuff really eclipses this time.
It was so good though. This song, when you're listening to it, it doesn't seem like it's that long because it moves so much.
Right.
Which was pretty weird for a punk band, especially. I mean, I didn't say it, especially in this time, but I guess at any time, punk bands just have really short, short songs and straight to the point. This song was cool though. Like they were always just a little bit different than all the other punk bands.
I like that like Middle Eastern flavor they have, but like right at the beginning of the phrase, it's got kind of like a really interesting like Lydian sound to it. But then immediately after that, they go to that like Middle Eastern flavor. It's really cool.
Yeah, and that's similar scales to what like Trivium uses, and like a lot of metal bands are using that same scale now.
Yeah, I mean it's just they're very creative on this.
Yeah.
Ooh, and I love it when he comes in.
Fucking System of a Down uses that scale all the time.
The one note he hits, it sounds like it's just slightly sharp, but it's really cool because it's so disjointed anyway, the way that solo sounds.
Yeah. This reminds me a lot of like Paint It Black.
Paint It Black, yeah, I can hear that. I'm trying to think of maybe some Beatles in there. I mean,
they said, that was one of their influences too, was the Beatles.
Like especially like Yellow Submarine era, like. But at the same time, though, I mean, it's unquestionably Offspring. I mean, you listen to it, and this is exactly the kind of stuff they would do.
And then it builds up, and you think it's going to change, and then it just doesn't.
Yeah. Well, then we're sitting here. We're about 2 minutes and 10 seconds into the song. Now, bear in mind, several songs in this album aren't even that long yet, and we haven't even heard a single lyric yet.
Yeah, and when it does come in, I think that's Noodles in the beginning.
Oh, really?
I don't think it's Dexter. And it's just these really eerie, haunting sounding vocals.
I know.
This song, they really kind of did something different.
Yeah, they did.
Kind of special with this song. Which, I mean, you heard a lot, later, like different genres of music, but you never really heard anything like this with punk rock.
Well, it was funny because, again, reading about this band, this album in particular, they said progressive punk. And I'm sitting here like, I can see it, but at the same time, no, I probably wouldn't say this is progressive, but I would say it's their most progressive song.
Yeah, that's so creepy and haunting sounding. Every time I heard this song, I just immediately thought of like, almost like on Beavis and Butthead Do America when they're tripping on peyote.
Yeah.
And then like that, kind of like that Rob Zombie song.
And that's what I was going to say. I'm really surprised they didn't pick this song over Rob Zombie for that scene, because this would really fit that part.
But I think Rob Zombie wrote that song for that movie.
Okay, that makes sense.
Or no, that was White Zombie. That was the last song that White Zombie wrote, and then they broke up, and then Rob Zombie went off and did his own thing.
Well, it's really ironic too because that movie came out right around this time. I want to say it was like 96 or 97. God, those melodies are so good, or harmonies are so good over that part.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to find the artwork for this album and see if I can put it up.
Yeah. I like that droning that's going on in the guitar. I know in one of our previous videos I was talking about using a drone note and then moving a melody over top of it. Yeah. That's exactly what they're doing here. Just I don't know what note it is offhand, but it's so cool. Like I like the effect you get when you do that.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like real hypnotic. Like this is one of those songs where if you're like listening to your CD player back then in 1999 or whatever, and this comes on, you start drifting to sleep and all that shit, but you can still kind of like see what's going on in the song. That's one of these songs.
Yeah, and I like when it comes in the guitar part. Like it's a clean guitar, but he's just playing it so hard that it's like a little broken up and
a little distorted.
Right here.
Yeah.
And that's a Fender. That's straight up a Fender Strat. Yeah, and it comes in so hard. Yeah, I like Dexter's voice for Offspring, but like for this song, I almost wish it was somebody else I could sing better. But because he was always just like a little wavering and a little bit off, but it was cool. Like it just he always added some certain flavor to these songs.
Yeah. Well, that last bit that he just did there, that was bluesy as fuck.
Yep.
Right there. Man, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you're more of like a metal fan or whatever, maybe listen to this song and then go back and listen to some of the other shit. But because this song is not, this is such a departure from what they normally do. And this song, and then there was another one on Ixnay called Change the World. That was another one that was kind of not as, kind of out there as this song, but it was another one that was just different for them.
Yeah. It's just such a cool groove. Like, it's not really swing or shuffle, but it kind of has that sort of feel to it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you can count it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, but I feel it more of like a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4,
Yeah, that's because of the way that the cymbals or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was such a cool song. And yeah, like when this was new, I never really liked this song just because, I was a kid. I was, 7 years old when this album came out. But, and when we first heard it, I was probably 8.
Yeah.
So I was still young, and I just didn't understand music back then.
Right.
And when I got a little bit older, like when I started getting like in middle school and stuff, then I would start listening to other things, and then this song really kind of hit me back then. And I was like, oh, I see what they were doing. And then I love the way at the end where it like just kind of goes way back down. Yeah. Yeah. I wish they did more songs like this.
And that's the thing too, is I hate to, because I know bands don't ever want to just make the same album over and over and over and over again, unless you're AC/DC.
Right.
But
and they make the same song over and over again.
Right. But I mean, this album to me, it really was lightning in a bottle. I mean, just everything worked, and from the production to the writing to the actual making of the music and everything. I don't know. I don't think you're gonna get an album this good out of a band like this. Like it's just it's insane. Because I mean, and that too. Like I know we said earlier about how this and Conspiracy were kind of the most similar sounding of their catalog. I don't know. I think this one's superior to Conspiracy though.
That was Americana by the Offspring. Yeah, it's a classic.
Yeah.
We grew up with it, and it's kind of weird to think that it's, pushing 30 years old now.
I know. I mean, it's, what is it, 24, 26? I can't
26,
remember.
Yeah, 98.
So, I mean, it's...
That's crazy.
But, I mean, at the same time, too, like I said earlier, I think it does resonate today, and it's still relevant today as well.
Yeah, that was kind of the cool thing with like bands like that back then. The lyrics were a little bit cheesy, but they were pretty real too. So you can kind of resonate with them a little bit better or a little bit more.
Right. It does sound. I mean, upon this listening of it too, it does sound a little dated. I mean, it's clearly from the '90s. You can really kind of tell.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, I think that's just testament to because I mean, a lot of stuff now, like the band we just got done doing last time, Red Sun Rising, kind of had a similar '90s kind of flavor to it, in my opinion. So I mean, I don't know. Like I think that sound just kind of stands the test of time.
Yeah. I mean, otherwise, what else? We got one more subscriber. We have 16 now.
Nice.
Also, we're gonna try to get that gear video out.
Yeah.
Gear video. We might do that next week.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll try to put it out between this one and the next Offspring one when we do our songs. So look out for that. Hopefully it'll be out by the middle of the week. If you have any suggestions for a band for us to do next, let me know. Because I haven't really thought of it much. I mean, I know we still have to do Spine Shank. Fuck, we've been saying that for how long now? Like 2 or 3 months?
A couple months.
Oh, man. I mean, we didn't get very many views on our last video, but the few people that did, maybe they've been watching it since the beginning. Maybe it'll just... I don't know. I kind of wanted it to be a running joke, but I kind of want to do it at the same time. Maybe we'll do that one next. We'll figure it out. We got some time. Yeah. So yeah, look forward to that. Look forward to us doing covers. Look forward to Tim's gear video coming out. I guess that's really it. I always say that. It's just such a Midwestern thing to do. There's a joke like how Midwesterners say goodbye. Oh, well, I guess I better be going. And then they slap their knee and then they start talking for another half an hour.
Right.
And it's just kind of how it is here. It's totally true.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
shit. Because last night,
I just did that to you
Tim
last
came over
night.
to me over here last night, and he was like, "I'm just gonna have a cigarette, and then I'm gonna get going." And that was probably about 7:30, 8 o'clock, and then he was here until almost 10.
Yeah, I was there about another hour or two later.
Yeah, he left here at like 9:45, so he was here for almost another 2 hours after that. It was funny, and that's what made me think of that. I was like, "Oh my god, that's not even a meme. That's just truth."
That's just how it is.
You stand in the doorway and have a conversation for half an hour. Thanks for watching. Check out the rest of our stuff. Like, subscribe. Leave comments. Leave suggestions for songs or bands or whatever. So I guess, yeah, we'll see you next time.